The sky above Earth's capital was clear that day, yet the mood in the United Nations Hall was heavy. Delegates from more than 100 nations sat together, but no one spoke loudly. The large holoscreen in the center of the chamber showed the emblem of the Galactic Council, a circle of silver stars over a black field. For years, that emblem had stood for safety and unity among the stars. Now, it was a symbol of doubt. Commander Alex sat at the far end of the room, wearing the dark blue uniform of the Earth Space Fleet. His hands were folded on the table, but his mind was far from still. He remembered the last meeting with the Velorans. They had been gentle people, with bright green skin and a culture built on music and gardens. They had no army, no warships, only a promise from the Galactic Council that they would be protected. The treaty between the Council, Earth, and Velora had been signed only 2 years ago. Alex had been there to witness it. Velora had agreed to share its rich knowledge of terraforming, helping many worlds grow food for their people in return. The Council swore to defend Velora if any threat came. Earth had supported this fully, sending engineers and scientists to assist in projects on Velora's surface. Everyone had believed it was the start of a new age of friendship. That belief ended 3 nights ago. A sudden emergency signal had reached Earth from Velora's capital city of Lurin. The transmission was short but chilling. Explosions thundered in the background while the Veloran leader cried for help, his voice shaking. Then the signal cut off. When Earth tried to contact Velora again, there was only silence. No ships responded. No satellites answered. At first, some thought it was an attack by pirates or a rogue fleet. But then came the Council's own announcement. It was not a message of comfort. It was a brief, cold statement. Velora had been removed as a council member due to security violations. No details were given. No offer of aid was made. When Earth's ambassador demanded an explanation, the Council cut the communication link. Now, in the United Nations Hall, the truth was slowly coming to light. A small, silver drone floated into the center of the chamber. It projected a new set of images on the holoscreen. They were captured by an Earth cargo vessel passing near Velora hours after the signal. The images showed the planet's cities as blackened ruins. Vast craters marked where gardens once bloomed. The oceans were clouded with smoke. Pieces of warships bearing the Council's crest drifted in orbit. It was undeniable the Galactic Council had attacked Velora themselves. A wave of anger spread across the chamber. Delegates stood and shouted. Some demanded war at once, others called for caution. But no one denied that trust had been broken. Alex did not speak immediately. He kept watching the screen, his jaw tight. He had known the Council's fleets were powerful, but to turn them against their own allies was something else entirely. This was not politics. This was betrayal. The Earth President, a calm but firm woman named Maria Voss, stood at the center of the hall. She raised her hand for silence. Slowly, the shouting stopped. We build our future in the stars on the belief that honor and law would guide the great powers. She said, we believed the Council when they promised that every member world was safe. Today, that belief has been burned to ashes. We do not yet know why they did this, but we know one thing: Velora was our friend. They trusted us. And when they called for help, we could not reach them in time. Her words were steady, but her eyes burned with controlled anger. The Council thinks they can act without consequences. They think we are too new, too small to stand against them. They are wrong. The chamber erupted in applause from some, while others still looked uneasy. War with the Galactic Council was not a simple matter. The Council's fleets controlled dozens of star systems. Their trade routes supplied much of the galaxy. To oppose them meant risking not only soldiers' lives, but the survival of Earth's colonies. Alex finally spoke, his voice deep and clear. President Voss, I have served in the fleet for over 20 years. I have seen battles. I have seen hardship. But never have I seen such a crime. If we let this pass, then no world will trust us, and no ally will believe in our word again. We must prepare, not only to defend ourselves, but to make sure the Council understands that such actions will never be forgotten. Several generals nodded in agreement. Others exchanged worried glances, knowing the road ahead would be dangerous. Outside, The city of New Geneva bustled as normal, but whispers were spreading through every street and every home. News networks replayed the footage of Velora's destruction. Again and again, people watched in disbelief, then in anger, on the orbital stations above Earth. Crews gathered in mess halls to talk about what they had seen. Miners on the moons of Jupiter sent messages to their families, urging them to be ready for hard times. Even the youngest children in Earth's schools asked their teachers why the Council had hurt Velora. By nightfall, the first public rallies began. Citizens carried signs with the green star symbol of Velora alongside Earth's blue flag. They lit candles in memory of the dead, and their voices joined in chants for justice. The sound carried through the streets like a rising tide. Back in the Fleet Command headquarters, Alex stood alone in the war room, looking at the star map. Velora's system was marked with a dark red symbol now. Round it, Council patrol routes glowed in white. To reach them would require crossing multiple defended sectors. It would be no easy task, yet as he looked at the map, Alex felt a steady resolve building in his chest. The Council had broken the treaty. They had killed friends who had no way to fight back. If Earth allowed this to stand, it would be next, and after Earth, perhaps Mars, Luna, or any colony that dared to speak against them. The war room door opened, and President Voss entered quietly. She stood beside Alex, following his gaze. "We will need the truth," she said. "Evidence so strong that no one can deny it, and when we have it, we will act." Alex nodded. "I will find it, Madam President, and when we act, we will not stop halfway." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then prepare yourself, Commander. The galaxy is about to change." Outside the windows, the Earth rotated slowly beneath them, a blue and green jewel in the black sea of space. For centuries, it had been humanity's only home. Now it was the heart of a growing network of colonies and outposts. And now, for the first time, it was being called to stand as a protector in a galaxy that had lost its trust in the old powers. Far away, among the ruins of Velora, silent cities slept under a dark sky. No lights shone, no voices called, but somewhere, in that silence, Alex believed, there was still something worth saving if they could reach it in time. The stars were bright over Velora's system when the scout ship Horizon slipped out of faster-than-light travel. Commander Alex stood on the bridge, staring at the planet through the viewing glass. From orbit, Velora should have looked alive, with glowing cities and green lands. Instead, much of the surface was dark, covered in long shadows. Only a few small fires burned where cities had once stood. The Horizon was a small, fast ship built for stealth missions. Its hull absorbed most scanning signals, and its engines ran in low-output mode to hide its heat signature. The Council's patrols were still active in the region, and Alex had no interest in letting them know Earth's fleet was here. Lieutenant Mara, the ship's pilot, glanced at him. "Commander, we are holding at high orbit. No signs of active planetary defenses. I am detecting heavy wreckage in low orbit. Most of it carries Council markings." Alex leaned closer to the display. Pieces of massive cruisers drifted silently, many of them broken into jagged fragments. It was strange. The Council had destroyed Velora, yet their own warships were among the wreckage. Something about that did not match the usual precision of their fleets. "Keep scanning," Alex said. "I want every piece of data recorded. And check for any active transmissions from the surface." Mara nodded and began adjusting controls. The Horizon moved closer to Velora, passing over what had been Lurin, the capital city. The ruins below looked worse than Alex had imagined. Whole blocks were flattened into ash. The great gardens Velora was famous for were scorched black. Rivers that had once sparkled now ran brown and slow. A sharp tone from the sensors made Mara's head snap up. "Commander, I have something." Weak signal. Buried in the static. It is coming from the southern district of Lurin. Alex's eyes narrowed. "Can you clean it?" "I think so. It will take a few minutes." While Mara worked, Alex called for the landing team to prepare. If there was a signal still coming from the planet, it meant someone or something was alive down there. Soon the ship descended through thin clouds, gliding over broken towers and collapsed roads. The landing site was a wide plaza covered in dust and fragments of stone. Once, this had been the Valoran Council's gathering square. Now it was silent except for the low hum of the Horizon's engines. The landing ramp touched the ground. Alex stepped out first, wearing the light armor of the fleet's ground forces. The air was heavy with smoke and the faint scent of burned metal. Behind him came Sergeant Daniel, carrying a scanning pack, and Specialist Rena, holding a secure data case. They moved toward the source of the signal, weaving between shattered buildings. In one corner of the plaza, beneath a fallen beam, they found the source, a half-buried data core, still glowing. Faintly, Rena knelt and brushed off the dust. It is damaged but still active. If we get it to the Horizon, I can open it. Alex nodded. Do it, and hurry. This place feels watched. Daniel adjusted his scanner. Commander, I am detecting faint energy trails to the east. Could be. Left over from Council patrol craft, they returned to the ship quickly, lifting off just as Mara warned that a small drone had appeared on the outer sensors. The Horizon rose above the ruins and pushed into the upper atmosphere. Once they were clear of interference, Rena connected the data core to the ship's secure system. At first the screen showed only distorted lines. Then the image cleared, revealing a Valoran leader, his green skin pale with fear. Explosions sounded in the distance behind him. This is Counselor Rahl of Valora, the man said, his voice tight but clear. To any who receive this message, know that the Galactic Council is not what it claims. They have accused our people of crimes we did not commit. When we refused to confess to false charges, they brought their fleets. They are destroying our cities. Our defenses are gone. The attack was ordered directly by Council High Command. He paused as a loud blast shook the building around him. Dust fell from above. His voice grew urgent. Friends of Valora, do not trust the Council. If you value your world, prepare to defend it. They will come for you as they have come for us. To Earth, our greatest thanks for your friendship. If you can, carry this truth to the galaxy. Show them what has been done here. The recording ended with the image of Rahl looking into the camera, his expression filled with determination despite the chaos behind him. The screen went dark. Silence filled the Horizon's bridge for several moments. Then Mara spoke. Commander, that is more than enough proof. The Council ordered this directly. There is no way they can deny it now. Alex leaned back in his chair, thinking carefully. We have proof, but we need more. If we only have one message, they will claim it is false. We need other recordings, survivors. Anything that can strengthen our case. Daniel turned from his console. Commander, with respect, I think survivors will be rare here. The damage is total in most areas. We might need to focus on what the Council left behind. Alex stood. Then that is what we will do. Scan the wreckage in orbit for any data recorders from their ships. If we can recover their own orders, they will have no escape from the truth. The crew began working quickly. The Horizon made a slow circuit round the planet, scanning each fragment of wreckage. After hours of searching, they found something: an intact recorder from a Council destroyer. Recovering it was dangerous. The recorder was lodged inside a twisted section of the ship's hull, spinning slowly through space. Mara piloted the Horizon with care, matching its rotation. Daniel and Rena used the docking arm to secure the fragment and cut the recorder free. Once aboard, the recorder was sealed in a secure compartment. It would take days to break its encryption, but Alex knew it could hold the final piece of evidence. They needed Dot as the Horizon prepared to leave the Valora system. Alex looked at the ruined world one last time. He remembered walking through its gardens, hearing music in its open squares, and watching children laugh in the warm sunlight. That memory was now a shadow against the reality of what lay below. He made a silent promise to Rahl, to the people of Valora, and to himself. Earth would not let this be forgotten. They would carry the truth across the stars, and the Council would answer for what it had done. The Horizon's engines flared, and the ship turned toward the dark stretch of space, leading home. Behind them, Valora remained in silence, its skies empty except for drifting debris. But now, the first seeds of justice were on their way to Earth. The Horizon returned to Earth under strict communication silence. Commander Alex wanted no chance of the Galactic Council intercepting their data. The journey through deep space was tense, with every sensor reading checked twice and every unknown signal scanned in detail. When they finally crossed into the Sol system, the crew felt a wave of relief. Earth's defense grid recognized them at once, and a line of orbital patrol craft escorted them toward the fleet's main command station. Above the moon, the station, named Bastion, was a massive ring of steel and light. Its docking arms stretched wide, large enough to hold the biggest warships in the fleet. As the horizon approached, Alex could see repair crews swarming over the hulls of ships already preparing for battle. The hum of construction was constant, and the glow of welding torches lit the dark. The moment the horizon docked, Alex carried the recovered data core and council recorder directly to fleet intelligence. Inside a sealed briefing room, engineers began working to extract the information. The recording from Valoran Counselor Raul played again, this time for President Maria Voss and Admiral Harris, the highest-ranking officer in the fleet. Both listened, in silence, their faces hardening with every word. When the message ended, the Admiral spoke first. "That is enough for me to call this what it is, an act of war. But the Council will deny it, and their allies will demand proof. How soon can we break the encryption on the Council recorder?" One of the engineers looked up from his console. "With our best team, maybe for days. The encryption is heavy, but it is standard military code. Once we get inside, we may find their own orders for the Valora attack." President Voss stood straight, her hands behind her back. "For days. Then, in that time, we will prepare. When we have the proof, we will not be asking for permission. We will move." The next hours saw a shift across the Sol system. Orders went out to every fleet yard, every ship crew, and every colony militia. Massive cargo haulers began moving from Mars, bringing armor and plating, missile batteries, and rail cannon parts to the shipyards. The Droidics of Titan came alive as heavy cruisers were pulled from storage and upgraded with the newest weapons. On Luna, fighter squadrons began training in live-fire drills day and night. In the heart of Earth's orbit, the new flagship Resolute was nearly complete. It was a towering warship, twice the length of any Council battlecruiser, with armor designed to withstand direct hits from capital weapons. Alex walked its half-lit corridors, inspecting the systems with a mix of pride and urgency. The crew was already aboard, running drills in every department in the hangar bay. Rows of sleek gunships sat ready. Mechanics checked fuel lines, missile racks, and shield generators. The smell of oil and metal filled the air. Pilots in dark blue flight suits ran pre-flight checks, their voices sharp and precise. There was no mistaking the mood. Everyone knew this was no training exercise. News of Valora's destruction had already spread among the population. The footage and Raul's message, though still officially classified, had reached many through secure channels. On Earth's streets, in Mars's domes, and on the icy platforms of Europa, people began to speak with one voice. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers, willing to serve in the fleet or work in the shipyards. Some were veterans from earlier conflicts, returning to service without hesitation. Back at Bastion Station, Admiral Harris called a war council. The meeting room was a wide circle, with a holomap of the galaxy projected above the center. The council's territory was marked in white. Earth and its allied colonies glowed in blue. Valora's system, now under council control, burned in red. Harris pointed to the map. Their fleets are concentrated here and here, along their core systems. If they think we will move slowly, they will reinforce those positions. We need speed. We hit them where they do not expect us, then push toward their capital before they can gather everything. A captain from Mars's fleet spoke. That will take every warship we have, plus supply lines strong enough to last months. Alex, step forward. We can do it, but we must fight like the Council never has. They are used to crushing small forces that fight alone. We will strike with the strength of every colony, every station, every pilot ready to stand with us. The plan began to take shape. Strike groups would be formed, some made of heavy cruisers and destroyers. others of fast carriers loaded with fighter wings. Stealth ships like the Horizon would scout ahead, looking for weak points in Council patrol routes. Supply fleets would follow at a safe distance, guarded by escort frigates. President Voss joined the Council at the end of the meeting. She listened to the final outline, then spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. This will be the most dangerous campaign in our history. We are not fighting for territory. We are not fighting for glory. We are fighting because our friends were murdered, because the promise of peace was broken, and because if we do not stand now, no one will. When the Council falls, the galaxy will see that justice is not a word, it is an action. Applause filled the chamber, but it was short and focused. No one here thought victory would be easy. They knew the Council's fleets were vast and their technology was advanced. But they also knew humanity's strength lay in something deeper: its refusal to give up, its ability to adapt, and its loyalty to those it called allies. As the War Council ended, Alex returned to the Resolute. In the command deck, he stood at the central station, watching the crew move through their duties with quiet precision. Screens displayed ship movements, supply lists, and training schedules. The sound of readiness was everywhere. Rena entered, holding a small data slate. Commander, preliminary work on the Council recorder is going faster than expected. We might have something sooner than 4 days. Alex raised an eyebrow. Good. The sooner we have their own words, the sooner we can put them before the galaxy. Through the viewing glass, he could see the other warships gathering. Frigates from Mars took position beside. Cruisers from Earth, carriers from Luna lined up behind destroyers from the asteroid colonies. The fleet grew larger by the hour, a force of united worlds preparing to face the Council's rule. Night fell over Earth below, its cities glowing like scattered jewels. Somewhere out there, past the quiet light of the stars, the Council's leaders sat in their grand chambers, certain that no one could challenge them. Alex felt a cold certainty in his chest they were wrong. The message from Valora had lit a fire in the hearts of billions. That fire was now being forged into steel, loaded into warships, and aimed at the Council's gates. The mobilization was not just a military act, it was a promise. A promise that Earth would not stand aside. A promise that allies would be defended. No matter the cost, the Resolute's engines hummed as final calibrations began. Soon, the waiting would be over, and the first order to move would come. Alex looked one last time at the growing fleet and thought of the words Rahl had spoken. They would carry the truth, and when they arrived at the Council's door, they would bring judgment with them. The day the fleet moved out of the Sol system, every channel in human space carried the same image. Hundreds of warships, large and small, rising from Earth's orbit and forming into long battle lines. Their hulls shone in the sunlight, each carrying the blue insignia of Earth and its allied colonies. From the smallest scout craft to the towering flagship Resolute, they moved with a single purpose. Commander Alex stood at the command station of the Resolute's bridge. The stars beyond the viewing glass were calm, but every person aboard knew that would soon change. The first target was a Council fleet stationed near the twin suns of Arconis, guarding the border between Council territory and free space. Intelligence showed they were unprepared for an assault that would not last. The fleet traveled in tight formation, their faster-than-light drives tuned to arrive at the same point in space together. In the navigation pit, Lieutenant Mara confirmed their position. Commander, arrival in Arconis sector. In 5 minutes, all systems are at combat readiness. Alex nodded. Signal the fleet to prepare for battle. No one fires until I give the order. Across the Resolute, crew members moved to battle stations. Weapons crews armed the rail cannons and missile batteries. Engineers monitored the reactor output, making sure the shields would hold under heavy fire. Fighter pilots climbed into their cockpits, checking each system twice before sealing their canopies. The moment the countdown ended, the black of space shifted. Stars bent and straightened again as the fleet exited faster than light travel, emerging in the Arconis sector. Before them, the two suns burned bright, their light glinting off the hulls of a Council fleet spread across the system. At the center of that fleet was a massive carrier with the Council's crest painted in gold along its side. Around it swarmed dozens of cruisers and destroyers. They reacted instantly to the sudden arrival of the human ships. Breaking formation and moving to intercept, Council fleet is powering weapons. Reported Mara. Their destroyers are coming. And fast, Alex's voice was calm. All ships, hold formation. Target their forward cruisers. Fire on my mark. Seconds stretched as the two fleets closed the distance. Then Alex's hand came down. Mark. The silence of space erupted. With light, rail cannon rounds streaked across the void, glowing as they cut through the dark. Missiles flared from launch tubes, leaving trails of fire before smashing into the enemy's shields. The first Council cruiser to be hit lost half its hull. A single strike, spinning helplessly before exploding. The Council ships returned fire. Bright beams of energy cut across the fleet, striking the shields of Earth's cruisers. One destroyer took a direct hit to its engine section and began to drift. But another moved into its place without hesitation. Fighter wings, launch, Alex ordered. From the bays of carriers and capital ships, hundreds of small craft poured into the battle. They moved in tight groups, darting between larger ships, unleashing bursts of cannon fire and torpedoes. The Council's fighters rose to meet them, and soon the space between the fleets became a chaotic dance of speed and fire. On the Resolute's bridge, the crew worked with steady focus. Enemy right flank is weakening, reported tactical. Officer Harlan, their destroyers are pulling back. Alex seized the opportunity. Signal Group 2 to push forward. Cut off their retreat. Group 2, led by the Mars heavy cruiser Iron Hand, surged ahead. Its guns thundered, pounding the Council ships until their shields collapsed. One by one, the enemy vessels fell, leaving wreckage drifting in the sun's light. But the battle was far from over. The Council carrier at the center unleashed a wave of heavy bombers, aiming for the human fleet supply ships at the rear. Alex saw the move instantly. Redirect fighter wings Bravo and Delta to intercept those bombers. They cannot reach our supply line. The order was carried out without delay. The fighter wings moved with precision, cutting through the bombers before they reached their targets. Explosions lit the darkness, each one marking another threat destroyed. Still, the Council carrier remained. Its heavy armor absorbed the fleet's long-range fire, and its shields recharged faster than expected. Alex knew they needed a direct strike to finish it. Bring us in, he told Mara. Close range. All forward guns on that carrier. The Resolute advanced, its massive engines pushing it into the thick of the battle. Enemy fire hammered its shields, shaking the deck, but the ship pressed forward. When the range closed to optimal, Alex gave the order. Fire everything. The Resolute's guns unleashed a storm. Rail cannon rounds tore through the carriers. Outer hull. Plasma bolts seared deep into its armor. Missile salvos struck in rapid succession, tearing open the massive vessel's sides. Finally, one of the rounds penetrated deep enough to reach the carrier's reactor. The explosion was blinding, a burst of white light that outshone the suns for a moment. When the glare faded, the carrier was gone, replaced by a field of wreckage and glowing debris. The remaining Council ships hesitated, their formations breaking. Alex knew the moment had come. All ships, advance, drive them out of this sector. The fleet surged forward, pressing the attack. Without their carrier, the Council ships could not hold their lines. Some tried to retreat, but Earth's cruisers cut off their escape. Others fought to the last. But one by one they were destroyed. After what felt like hours, the last Council vessel exploded. The battlefield grew quiet except for the faint signals of drifting debris. The twin suns shone down on the victorious fleet. Reports came in from across the formation. Losses were heavy but acceptable. The supply ships were safe. The Arconis sector was under Earth's control. On the bridge, Alex took a long breath. Signal the fleet. Well fought. Begin recovery operations and prepare for the next move. The crew moved to follow his orders. Rescue craft launched to retrieve escape pods from damaged ships, both human and enemy. The wounded were brought aboard medical ships. Damaged crews began sealing hull breaches and replacing damaged systems. As the Resolute held position among the wreckage, Alex looked at the holo map on the central display. One red mark had been cleared, but dozens more remained. This was only the first clash. A single step in a long road ahead. Still, it was proof. The Council could be beaten. Across human space, the news of victory spread quickly. For the people of Earth and its colonies, it was more than a battle won, it was a sign that justice was coming. For the leaders of the Galactic Council, it was a warning that their power was no longer unquestioned. And for Alex, it was the beginning of the campaign. He had promised to bring the truth of Velora to the heart of the Council's own world. The war room aboard the United Earth Fleet flagship, Iron Resolve, was silent except for the soft hum of the systems and the faint tapping of a console. Admiral Rowan stood at the center, looking at the holographic map of the Orion sector. The blue lights representing Earth's allies were gone. Only a few scattered green signals remained, showing fleeing survivors. Every other mark had turned to cold gray, the color assigned to annihilated forces. Beside him stood Captain Mira, her eyes fixed on the same display. The Council didn't just destroy our allies, she said in a low voice. They erased them. Entire cultures. Gone. Rowan nodded. They thought no one would come to stop them. They believe Earth will bow to fear like the others. He paused, his hands tightening into fists. They are wrong. The crew around the table remained silent, waiting for their leader's words. Rowan's voice grew stronger. We swore an oath to protect not just Earth, but every partner who stood with us when no one else would. The Council crossed a line. And now the galaxy will remember what happens when humanity is pushed too far. Mira activated a new projection, showing the positions of the Galactic Council fleets. We have confirmation from long-range scouts. The Council forces are spread thin after their last assault. Their main fleet is returning to their capital world. If we move now, we can strike before they regroup. A younger officer, Lieutenant Ben, hesitated. Sir, their fleet numbers are still larger than ours. Even with their ships spread out, the Council Navy is the most advanced in the galaxy. We'll be walking into the teeth of a storm. Rowan turned to him. True. But storms are where humans have always thrived. We adapt. We push forward when others retreat. And this time, we won't be alone. He tapped the console and new green symbols appeared. These were Earth's remaining defense squadrons, along with several independent fleets that had refused to bow to the Council's threats. These, Rowan said, are the last who still have the courage to stand against them. Not enough to match them in open battle, but enough to hit them where it hurts. The plan was clear, but dangerous strike at the Council's logistics and command structure, forcing them into chaos. Without supply lines, even the largest fleet would falter. Mira leaned closer to Rowan and lowered her voice. There's more at stake than the battle, Admiral. If we fail, Earth will be next. There won't be anyone left to stand for us. I know, Rowan replied. That's why we can't fail. The Iron Resolve sent out the signal. Across the sector, ships began to converge. Sleek corvettes, massive cruisers, and nimble strike craft. Every hull carried the same mark, the emblem of Earth, a reminder that they fought for more than just themselves. Hours later, the fleet gathered in the black void outside the Barnard Gate, the wormhole that led straight into Council-controlled space. The stars shimmered around them, and the massive gate's energy pulsed like a living thing. Rowan addressed them through the fleet's channel. His voice carried the weight of loss, but also the fire of determination. Crew of the United Earth Fleet, today we do not fight for glory. We fight for justice. We fight for every ally who stood with us, for every voice the Council silenced. This is not just Earth's battle. This is humanity's promise. The channel was filled with responses, short, sharp acknowledgments from captains, engineers, and pilots. There was no fear in their voices now, only resolve. The moment came. The Iron Resolve led the fleet into the Barnard Gate. Stars and light blurred around them as they crossed the threshold into hostile space. When the wormhole opened again, the sight before them was both magnificent and grim. The Council's supply convoys stretched across the void, protected by smaller escort fleets. Massive freighters carried fuel, weapons, and food to the front lines, targets locked. Mira reported, "Begin the assault," Rowan ordered. The first wave of Earth's warships surged forward, releasing volleys of plasma and railgun fire. Convoy escorts scrambled to form a defense, but they were caught off guard. Ships exploded in bright flashes, and containers filled with resources scattered into the void. Ben's voice came over comms. Convoy Alpha destroyed. Bravo under heavy fire. They're trying to call for reinforcements. Jam them, Rowan commanded. The battle spread across the sector. Earth's smaller ships darted between massive freighters, striking weak points and vanishing before enemy fire could track them. Cruisers moved in to finish the crippled targets. Mira's hands flew over her controls. Admiral, the Council will respond faster than expected. We need to move before their main fleet arrives. Rowan nodded. Destroy everything we can carry, leave nothing they can use. Hours later, the last Council freighter in the sector was in flames. The wreckage of their supply lines floated in silence. But the victory was not without cost. Several Earth ships had been lost, their crews gone. As the surviving ships regrouped, Rowan's eyes stayed on the star map. This was only the first step. The Council would now be forced to pull ships from the front to defend their supply routes. That would buy Earth and its allies time. Set course for the next target, Rowan said. His voice was calm, but inside, he felt the weight of every life lost. The oath of retaliation had been taken, and it would not end until the Council paid in full. The iron resolve turned toward the next gate. The war was no longer a distant threat. It was here, and humanity was ready to meet it head-on. The stars outside the flagship Resolute burned bright against the black of space. But inside the command deck, tension was thick and heavy. Commander Alex stood at the center, watching the hull map flicker with the glowing orbits of the Galactic Council's homeworld system. This was the moment they had prepared for, an orbit full of warships, ready to deliver justice for Valora and all the betrayed allies. The Council's homeworld was a jewel of shining cities and high towers. From orbit, its beauty was breathtaking. But beneath that glittering surface lay the heart of the betrayal of the leaders, who had ordered the destruction of Valora. Now, they faced the reckoning. Sensors report the planetary defense grid is fully active, said Lieutenant Mara from her station. Thousands of turrets and missile batteries. Shields are at maximum strength. Alex nodded. Prepare the fleet for a sustained assault. We will not break this wall by force alone. We must outthink them. The Resolute's comm channels buzzed with activity as the fleet spread into battle formation. Earth's warships flanked the massive defense rings protecting the planet. Every captain knew the fight would be brutal. The Council would not surrender easily. Suddenly, a signal crackled through the secure channel. The voice was clear and strong. Valoran Councilor Ra's recorded message. The proof of the Council's crimes was broadcast to every ship and station in the system. The truth was out in the open. Across the Council worlds, citizens stopped and listened. The leaders' lies, once hidden behind layers of power and propaganda, now shattered by the voice of the betrayed. Rebel groups within the Council's own population began to rise, demanding answers and justice. On the Resolute, Alex watched the fleets approach. The Council's forces are responding with heavy fighters and missile frigates. They want to stop us before we reach the planet, launching fighter wings, Mara reported. Our pilots are ready. The sky above the Council's homeworld exploded in a flash of light and sound. Dogfights broke out as Earth's fighters clashed with Council interceptors. Missile salvos streaked through space, their glowing trails painting deadly patterns. The battle raged fiercely. Earth's warships moved with precision, targeting key defense nodes to weaken the planet's shields. Each strike brought the fleet closer to breaking the Council's wall. Below the chaos, Alex's voice was steady. Focus fire on the shield generators. Once they fall, we push for orbit insertion. The fleet obeyed. Cannons thundered, beams lanced through space, and finally, the great shields shimmered and faltered. A crack appeared in the planetary defense, small but growing. The Council's capital trembled under the assault. Its leaders realized their power was slipping. They sent out desperate messages, calling for reinforcements and secret weapons. But many of their own worlds were turning against them, inspired by the truth of Valora's destruction. Alex knew this was the turning point. Prepare boarding parties. When the shields drop, we take the fight inside. The moment came. The shields collapsed, and the Resolute led the charge into orbit. Docking clamps latched onto the Council's space station, and troops began moving in. The battle shifted from space to inside the great walls of the Council's fortress. On the ground, soldiers fought fiercely through corridors and chambers, confronting the Council's elite guards. The halls echoed with the sounds of combat and the determined voices of Earth's troops. Meanwhile, Alex moved to the command center of the Council station. There, he faced the leaders who had ordered the attack on Velora. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide with fear and anger. You destroyed a world of peace and friendship, Alex said firmly. Now you face judgment. The Council leaders tried to deny their guilt, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recording of Veloran Counselor Rahl played again, filling the chamber with truth. Outside, across the galaxy, the people watched as justice unfolded. The Council's grip was breaking, and a new hope was rising. As the battle ended, the leaders were rested, and the Council's banners were lowered. A new chapter began, one built on real justice and mutual respect. Commander Alex looked out at the stars and knew the fight had not just been about warships and battles. It was about standing for what was right, even when the cost was high. Earth had delivered the final judgment, and the galaxy had listened. The war was over, but the stars still carried echoes of the battle. Commander Alex stood on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing at the quiet galaxy before him. The great Galactic Council had fallen, their leaders taken into custody or fleeing into the unknown. The destruction of Velora and the courage of Earth's fleet had changed everything. Below them, the Council's capital world was no longer a place of fear and power. It was now a center for rebuilding and peace talks. Representatives from many worlds gathered there, eager to rewrite the rules that had once kept them divided and under the Council's control. Alex thought about the journey that had brought them here. The moment when Velora was destroyed, when Earth decided to act, and when countless ships fought in the great battle. It was a story of loss, but also hope. On the command deck, Admiral Harris approached. The Council's remaining forces are scattered. Many worlds have declared their independence. The galaxy is waking up. Alex nodded. Now comes the hard part, building a future that lasts. We cannot let the same mistakes happen again. The leaders of the fleet had already begun working with new allies. Plans were underway to form a galactic alliance where worlds could work together as equals. Earth would play a leading role, but the goal was cooperation, not control. In the halls of the former Council's capital, Counselor Rahl's voice echoed through the grand chambers. Though he had lost his home, he spoke with hope. We have suffered greatly, but from the ashes, a new future can rise, one where trust is rebuilt and no world fears its neighbor. Back on Earth, celebrations were held, but also quiet moments of remembrance for those lost in the war. Families gathered, knowing the cost of peace. Commander Alex took a moment to look at the stars outside the Resolute. The fleet was ready to return home, but the mission had changed. It was no longer just about fighting. It was about guarding a new order of justice and friendship. We have a duty now, he said quietly to himself, to protect what we fought for. As the fleet prepared to move back toward Earth, messages poured in from across the galaxy. Worlds once silenced now spoke freely. Plans for exploration, trade, and shared defense were forming. The Council's old power was broken, replaced by the promise of unity. Alex smiled. The war had been long and hard, but it had shown what humanity could do: stand for its friends, fight for truth, and build a better future. The stars were no longer just a place of conflict. They were a place of hope.